Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be my review of the Bristles Beauty brush collection. This is an affordable Fude line, which is owned by a mother-daughter team based out of Canada. I purchased these brushes myself. I shared them on Instagram and a lot of you were curious about my thoughts regarding the brushes. I have had them for a good long time and I'm ready to share my thoughts with you. Before we get into the video, if you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I have reviewed a lot of brush lines, including Sonia G and Wayne Goss brushes here on my channel, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts with you on this one. I hope you're going to enjoy the video, and if so, consider subscribing to my channel so that you don't miss out on my future videos. Thank you to my first 5 commenters on my previous video. I really appreciate the lab love on my channel, and I enjoy chatting with you in the comment section of each and every video. Those with YouTube channels will be identified with the YouTube logo and be linked in the description box down below in case you're looking for some fun new people to watch on YouTube. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and get into my review. I purchased my brushes from the Bristles Beauty website. This specific set is called the Extra Mode Brush Bundle, and it's listed at $153 on their website. I had a discount code because of an influencer or for signing up on their mailing list, and the total price I ended up paying was $130 with 5 cents. There was an additional charge to my card for $3.64, which took me some time to figure out what it was. I actually shared my unboxing of these brushes on my Instagram stories and I tagged the brand, and they actually reached out when I mentioned that there was that additional charge that I didn't understand why it was added to my purchase price, and they actually looked on their end to try to verify what it was, but they only saw the total purchase price. So I kind of did a little research with my bank and I realized that it was a foreign transaction fee that was a result of just the card that I used to make the payment and nothing having to do with the company. But it did give a really good impression that they actually reached out to me trying to determine what it was that resulted in that additional charge. So that was a really good customer service point from their social media team. Now, the whole premise behind this brand, as I understand it, is that they want to create Fude or handmade brushes that are affordable but don't sacrifice the quality. So typically Fude are going to be handmade brushes that are made by artisans that specialize in making this kind of brush. I have other Fude in my collection, which I'll compare these to throughout the video so that you can get an idea of how I feel about these. I really like the idea about having a brush company make an affordable line. There is another brush line that kind of goes along the same vein, and those are rougher brushes, which I do have in my collection as well, but the rougher brushes are slightly more expensive in terms of the cost, unless you factor in a special kind of sale or you get something from the concept store. There's 9 brushes in the set, and these are the only 9 brushes that they have in their collection so far, and they really consist of 2 face brushes, which are the 2 larger ones, and 7 eye brushes. I'll use one of the larger brushes to demonstrate the style. So you have the bristles on the end. The ferrule is going to be a chrome metallic with a pinch in the end. You have the Bristles Beauty logo on the handle along with the brush number. The handle is like a wood handle. It has the color of pine, so it's really light colored wood and it's really beautiful. It kind of gives it a natural artsy kind of feel to it, but it has been finished so that the handles are sort of lacquered over the top and they are protected. Really, really beautifully made brushes. Now, in general, one of the first things that I notice is that the handles are a little bit short. So for reference, I'm going to show a Sonia G face brush. So if I put them together, you see that the handles on the Bristles Beauty brushes are a little bit shorter. If I want to compare it to a Wayne Goss brush, compared to a Wayne Goss eye brush, the handle length is about the same. So the first thing to note is that these are relatively shorter brushes. So if you prefer longer brushes, then you may not like these. I think that they're fine. They still allow me to get a grip further down the handle to get a lighter application of product, and I find that they've been working fine despite the shorter length. And actually, since I'm making YouTube videos, usually I have a mirror really close to my face, and so working with a shorter brush is actually a beneficial aspect of them. The brand's website is really, really helpful and has a lot of detail about each individual brush. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the brushes one by one, and I'm going to be citing some some of the information that I got from the website. They are really divided into a couple of lines. The first one, because of the naming system on the brushes, so for instance, these are F09 and F08. I realize that stands for face 9 and face 8, but the RM and the AM, I really couldn't tell what they stand for. So the naming of the brushes is a little bit cumbersome to repeat when I'm speaking about them, but if you're just using them on your own, obviously that's not going to be an issue. So those are the face brushes. Then there's also some, which are these two right here that are designated P, and as best as I can tell, that stands for precision, and they are 6 and 7 P and RF respectively. Again, those last letters I really can't tell what they stand for. And the remaining brushes are part of the E line, which I presume it stands for eyes, and it is the 01 through the 05. Let's do the face brushes first to kind of get them out of the way. This one is an angled brush and my favorite of the two, along with being my favorite in the line altogether. What I like about this one is that it's 100% natural goat hair and it's very, very soft. It has an angle on it and it bloomed beautifully. I've washed these brushes twice now and they wash beautifully, they dry beautifully, and I haven't had to use brush guards or anything like that to reshape them so far, but they're fairly new. But again, I've washed them twice and I haven't had to restructure them in any way. The other brush, which is the 09 brush, this one is a blend of goat hair and synthetic. It feels soft, but not as soft as this one, which is 100% goat hair. I do find that both of the brushes are functional and they're very resilient when used with creams, which is something that I appreciate because I love working with cream products. And you may have seen these brushes used in my Rare Beauty review where I used this brush to blend out blush, and I absolutely loved it. You can also use them equally well for powders. I honestly would love to see them do more face brushes because in my personal opinion, I love Fude for face. I like to use them with lighter powders and things like that, whereas I'm not going to have to wash the brushes frequently, so I prefer sort of larger brushes in that sense, although I do have them for eyeshadows as well. Sometimes when I'm doing a really bold look like this, I don't want to use my very best brushes because, you know, I can be a little rough with them. But just the same, their face brushes are such nice quality. I would like to see them do more of them, but I do prefer the 100% natural fiber rather than the blend. When getting into the precision brushes, these are both synthetic actually, and one of the things I love about Fude are natural fibers. I really enjoy squirrel hair as well as goat hair, and these are both synthetic. Now, this is the 07, which is basically like an eyeliner brush, and I have found that it's really good for doing like graphic liner or for working with gel liners. But again, it's a synthetic brush, and so I don't feel that it's one of the stars of the collection. Then we have the P06, and I actually really like this brush, despite it's being synthetic, because it is a tiny, tiny shader brush, and I really like to use this on the inner corner of my eye. Also, if I'm doing cut creases, because it's synthetic, I really don't worry about using it with creamier eyeshadows, and I can really get a precise line along my crease. I love tiny brushes since my eyes are hooded and smaller and kind of close set. Brushes like this are going to be really, really useful, and this is also one of my favorites from their collection. For the remaining brushes, these are the 5 eye brushes. The 3 white hair brushes are going to be 100% goat hair, natural hair brushes, and then the 2 brown haired brushes, the flat shader brush, this is the E04 brush, this one is horsehair, and then we have the E05 brush, which is a blend of horse and synthetic fibers. So looking at the ones that are made of horsehair, this shader brush is really nice again for applying shades to the lid. It's really good for packing on product because it's dense. Now, because it's also very thin, you can also use it along the lower lash line, and on the edge you could even use it as you would a flat definer because it really goes to a narrow edge on the top. Now, this shape isn't particularly unique in my opinion, but it is really, really good in terms of giving you some versatility in the shapes of the brush collection as a whole. Next, we have the E05 brush, which is the one that is horse and synthetic blend, and this is a pencil brush, but it's a pencil brush that has a little bit of a give. So it can be used to apply product very, very deliberately and very concentrated, but since it has a little bit of flexibility, you can also blend with it. It's a very nice brush as well. I like this one for the inner corner as well as the lower lash line, especially when I'm intensifying in the outer 2/3 of my eye with a darker shadow. This one works really well. Next, we'll go ahead and go to the 3 eye brushes. My favorite, my third favorite from the collection is the E01 brush, and this is the larger of the eye brushes, and this is one that I use strictly for blending. If I use this brush to place color on my eye, it's usually to place a very diffuse color kind of all over, or my very first crease shade, because again, it is so large and my eyes are smaller, but as a blending brush, this is phenomenal. I will place the product down with other brushes and then I'll go in with this one, and it diffuses the product so well. It's truly a beautiful brush, and if you're familiar with the Wayne Goss 03 brush, they are almost identical brushes. The Wayne Goss has slightly longer bristles and is a little bit more tapered, but they are very, very similar brushes. The 02 brush is very reminiscent of the MAC 217 style of brush, where you have a pinched ferrule, but yet it is a blending brush, and you can use it kind of vertically or you can put it horizontally depending on where you apply product. This one blends and diffuses product really beautifully as well, but it's a little bit more precise since it is smaller. Now, I likened it to the MAC 217 that was natural fibers, but since that one is not available anymore, I also feel that it's really similar to the Rephr 01 brush in terms of its shape, where you have that kind of blending brush style with the pinched ferrules so that it comes to a narrower tip. The Rephr brush is a little bit more fluffy. The Bristles Beauty brush is a little bit more dense. And lastly, we have probably one of the least functional brushes for me personally. This is the E03 brush, and it is like a bullet crease type of brush, but it's a little bit longer. Again, 100% natural goat. And the only reason why I don't find this one personally useful is because this kind of brush would be really ideal for someone who has a natural crease, which I personally don't since my eyes are so hooded, but I do like to use this one for the lower lash line as well. And I like to use it to apply intense color in the outer V of my eye because it packs on color really well. If you have a natural crease, you're gonna love this brush for the crease itself. So that's a look at all the brushes individually. I think that the set itself has a lot of strengths in that the shapes between the brushes are so versatile that if you're looking for a complete set of eye brushes, I would really think that the eye brushes in the collection really are a complete set, and they have pretty much any shape that you would need. Like I said, there's no strict flat definer brush, but you could use the P06 as a flat definer brush or even the E04 brush. In general, I think the quality for the price point is there, but I want to show you some of my other Fude brushes. Specifically, I want to show you my Wayne Goss airbrush. This is one of the most beloved brushes in my collection. This one is a squirrel hair, and it is one of the softest brushes I own, and I really enjoy this one for setting underneath the eye. I also have this beautiful, beautiful brush from Shakuda. This is a cheek brush, and you can apply blush with it. You can apply highlighter. You can apply bronzer, because this is the kind of brush that kind of blooms when you put pressure on it, so you can cover larger areas of your face. I also have a Surratt blending brush that it kind of looks like a candle in its shape. This is also squirrel, and so the bristles are super, super soft, and when you apply this, this blends color divinely, just so beautiful. So you can see when I describe these brushes, there's definitely a love there. Like, I definitely have a lot of feeling for these brushes. I treat them really carefully. They're very, very expensive brushes. Individually, they far are more expensive than any of the Bristles Beauty brushes. And so these are kind of your high-end Fude, in my opinion. These, I think, are great for someone who's beginning with Fude because they're really durable. They're very well made, and so if you're not very experienced with these natural hair brushes, it may be a good idea to start out with brushes like this that'll give you a feel for how the fibers perform and also be a little bit resilient to someone who's not as experienced using brushes like this. So they're very functional. The selection of shapes is amazing. Do I think that it's on the level of, for example, my Shakuda brush? I don't. But again, the price point, they're worlds apart. So it's just something to think about. I'm really glad that I have them. I really enjoy the shapes. You've seen them in my recent videos. Like I mentioned, the Rare Beauty review. I also used them when I was reviewing the Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels palette, I believe. You've seen me using them on my channel. But I just wanted to come share my thoughts with you. And all in all, I think that they're beautiful brushes and a good starting point if you're going into the Japanese handmade brush realm. Another point I wanted to make regarding their website, it is so informative. It is one of the most informative websites I have ever visited with regard to how you can use the brushes, how the brushes are constructed, the dimensions of the brushes. So for instance, it'll give you the bristle length, it'll give you the handle length. It gives you all of that information that you would expect from a handmade brush. It gives you the information about the fiber, and it gives you different ideas on how to use all of the different brushes. So I highly recommend visiting their website and kind of reading through so that you can get some idea of how you can use the brushes themselves. If I were to make a recommendation for my top brushes in the collection, my first choice would be the Face 08 brush. I would love to see them do more face brushes. Then I really enjoy the E01 brush, which was surprising to me considering how large of a blending brush it is. And then my third would be the P06 brush, which is that teeny tiny shader brush. I have gone into this brush quite a few times. So these are my thoughts regarding the brushes. I hope that you found them helpful if you were curious about the brushes. I see a lot of people using them on their channels as well. So they're gaining in popularity, and I'm really curious to see what the brand is going to do next. Like I said, I've been very pleased with the customer service and as well as the performance of the brushes given the price that I paid. I do hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and share it with another beauty lover that you think might also enjoy it. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing really well, and I look forward to seeing you really, really soon on my next video. Bye-bye.